being a result oriented organization, and just honesty, being straightforward, taking feedback, all of that. What helps you stay that way?
I own an LV bag, or I own an Hermes bag, or I own a Prada, or I own a Gucci. And that's luxury for me because I own that ownership. Today, the experience of buying that bag is luxury because people are spending crores and crores and crores over a 3-day wedding.
Hello and welcome to Startup Story Spotlight. Today we are in conversation with the founders of a growth hacking firm that goes by the name 12101. Sounds interesting, right? Wait till you hear their story. 12101 is a growth hacking firm that helps businesses achieve growth 101 at global scale. This is a story of two different individuals coming together with their love for art, the love for luxury lifestyle segment, and love for making money for their clients. And this episode is all about insights, fun, and so much learning. So check this episode out, and for now, let's welcome the founder. Thank you so much, Rahim and Riddhi, for joining on this conversation. Very lovely having you all the way from Hyderabad.
Pleasure.
Thank you. So before we, jump to the part where you tell us how did you come up with the name 12101, which I'm sure everybody's curious about, we'll first try and understand your diverse backgrounds. Where do you all come from? How did you guys meet and finally start this?
Okay, should I go first?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, great. So it's really funny, with the whole story and our trajectory individually, because both Rahim and I come from extremely diverse backgrounds. So for me now, it's been about 21 odd years that I've been in the business development, the brand space, where I've kind of worked with a lot of different, industries, a lot of different brands and entrepreneurs doing different things. But for me, I started off initially as an entrepreneur myself. And I was in the creative art space. So I was not in, corporate or luxury at all. And I actually founded one of India's first few concept studio art spaces. So it was a performing arts studio space called House of Wow. That was based out of Bombay. And it was a very fun, a very successful, a very positive space for all forms of art. And that's kind of how I started understanding, even something as where people think it's simple, but something as simple as art also needs so much of formalization and structure if you want to really convert it into a hardcore business. And that kind of intrigued me a lot to want to learn more and more. And from then on, I got into, I said, okay, let me set foot in corporate and see how it goes. So I got into jewelry, into fine jewelry, and I was doing that for about 6 years. I was heading, in fact, global sales for some of India's largest jewelry manufacturers, and that's also where I kind of tasted luxury in its truest form. And then I got into a lot of different stints with fashion and couture and lifestyle, and worked with a lot of retail brands, a lot of fashion houses, was executive vice president of a fashion house in Hyderabad, and that's why I had to move from Bombay to Hyderabad. And that's actually where Rahim and I connected. We met and we started understanding the gap in the industry. And we felt a lot of businesses and services were great. Their offerings were great and entrepreneurs had amazing visions. But just the right kind of hand-holding to reach that vision was very integral, which a lot of people missed. And that's actually what really gave birth to 12101. So yeah, that's about me. But yeah, Rahim might be able to tell you a little bit about himself.
Sure. I actually come from a very vast, very varied background myself. And it's actually, it surprises a lot of people to see the kind of variations I've been through. So I actually started off as an industrialist almost about a decade ago. It was a homegrown business where we actually own an industry where we manufacture mouth fresheners. And it was after this that I moved into the interior designing space again out of pure passion of beautifying and creating spaces and basically ideating. And this whole virtue of ideating and conceptualizing creation is basically what took me towards conceptualizing shows again for OTT platforms. So I mean I write a little bit here and there. I'm sort of a little performing artist myself, and yeah, I mean, it was during this stint where when I was doing interior designing, I had my own firm, and I moved into conceptualizing shows for OTT platforms from there. And it was during this time that I was working on a project of mine. I was writing basically a show where Riddhi and I actually came together, and that project of mine became our project. And we got talking about the industry and about how much scope for growth there is, and there is so much potential that can be maximized, but just people lacking that pathway, the guidance, and the movement, the right way forward. And that's where both of us came together to start 12101.
I really want to ask you, what did you guys think of each other when you first met? Would you remember?
Yeah, I mean, Rahim, why don't you answer that first?
So I think it was a clear hit. In fact, it wasn't the first time we had met. It was, we had met a few years ago. But luck has its own way of manipulating the universe. And I think then we actually connected when she moved to Hyderabad last year. And I think it was a clear hit right off the bat. And it's just the right kind of energies that that you're headed in the right direction with certain things. So I think, yeah.
So for me, I would have never thought that I would be starting off a business with a partner, because my entire family knows I'm a complete solo player. Like, I am on my own tangent when it comes to work and speed and aggression with work. But then when I met Rahim and I said, okay, let's give this a shot, I think it was probably the best decision of my life, because we just aligned so much in thought and vision and the way we operate and what we want for our brands. Very rare to find such a connection intellectually.
About it, but why the name 12101? Who wants to go?
Oh, that's all Rahim. Full credit to Rahim. So you must hear it. You must hear why.
So it's actually a funny story. So while we were in talks and we were discussing, about the whole trajectory and all the whole movement, we actually did come up with a couple of other names before we actually went ahead with 12101, which is stuck. Right? So we had a couple of names. We thought we finalized, but then gave it a day or two, and then we were like, okay, no, I don't think we don't think this is working. And then basically we came to a point where we realized the kind of mindset we come from, right? And that just like when it came out, the name 12101 just came out of my mouth, and we were both like, this is it, this is what we want.
Must explain what it means though.
Yeah, so I'm just coming to that. So basically 12101, it sounds like an address, right? When you say these numbers, it sounds like an address, right? So we call it to be the address to everything business, brand, and buck. Right, and we talk about going from a 0 to 100, but both Riddhi and I, we come from the mindset, we come from the school of thought and the mentality that no brand, no business, or even an individual, so to say, right, is a 0, because if you're in existence, you're already at least at a 1, and everybody wants to aims to go to 100, but we believe in going that extra mile, doing your one better, giving with that extra push, and taking you to a 101 instead of 100. So that's where the whole ideology of 12101 stemmed out of, and I think it's worked pretty well for us, touch wood.
Moving forward, tell us a bit more about this 12101 company that you created. What kind of consulting services do you provide to the businesses, and what are the industries that you majorly consult for?
So for 12101, honestly speaking, we don't call ourselves consultants. We tell all our brands that they're our partners, they're not our clients. So we tell all our brand partners we're not consultants, and that's actually has really worked out for us because they feel very relieved when they hear that. So we basically call ourselves business growth hackers. Now, what that essentially means is that we don't just consult, which means we don't just give them a plan of action. We don't work on just strategy. We're also the ones who act physically and, while executing, take their business from point A to point B. So we're the ones who represent their company or their brand externally with other vendors, partners, other brands, other people in the industry or outside the industry, and we're the ones who actually close businesses for them. So if there's we execute business development, so to speak, for all our brands. But apart from that, we have 3 other factors that we also work with them on very closely. Brand positioning, so we help them reach or have the right kind of brand recall. There's social media, but there's a lot of strategy, which directly, again, links to business revenue. So everything that we really do for our brands is kind of ensuring that eventually their revenues will increase. So that's also why we're slightly a tad bit more different than just consultants, because consultants might just kind of course, there are a lot of consultants who do different things as well. But mostly, consultants will tell you, okay, here's the plan, here's where you're going wrong, this is what you need to rectify. And now, there you go. It's like a project. This isn't a project for us. It's very ongoing. It's also literally us rectifying things for our brands. So we pretty much take the entire show end to end for them, and then, show them a growth trajectory over a period of time. So that's also what we do. Of course, a lot of industries that we have thought of kind of venturing into, but fundamentally our core USP is luxury lifestyle, which is fashion and related. And we've just gotten into F&B, which was not something Rahim and I had discussed, but it's sort of, touch wood, it's worked out for us. So we are managing a couple of premium brands in F&B as well.
So since we're talking about you majorly working and partnering with these luxury lifestyle brands, tell us what are some unique opportunities or some unique challenges that you see in this space. Of course, this space is very different from others, right? In many fundamental ways. So what are some unique opportunities, challenges that you see yourself leveraging on in this industry going forward?
Invested with. Now, when we're talking about opportunity, it's an open playing field for for a company, for an industry that has been created, right? Too, and also from the kind of expertise that we both come from, all the experience that we've gathered over time, we have been able to tap into a lot of. We have been working in a lot of different industries, and that sort of brings to the table just so many more horizons that are opening up. So yeah, I think
add on to what Rahim is saying. So of course, opportunities, yes, there are many, because fundamentally we're working with our brands to grow them. Now, any brand that is scalable is an opportune brand for us. It's a brand that we can tap into. Any brand that says that, hey, they want to expand, that becomes a great opportunity, because that's where we come in. We also don't just cater to the larger brands, but in fact, for us, more so, we cater to brands that want to get into the larger run. So the mid-range, the small cap to the mid-range, the bootstrapped, those are, and that's a very heavy population of our, of the number of people that are out there, right? But apart from that, I feel like challenges have also been several, because so many people don't understand that they require this professional guidance. They feel like because they're entrepreneurs and they have that vision, they'll be able to achieve it. So many people are not great with optimizing costs. They feel like they've started a business, they've got a budget, now let's see how it goes, or we'll spend X, Y. But that's also very important, how much to spend, when you're a startup, or when you're even 3 years or 5 years into the business, if you're bleeding money. If you're not, even then, how important is cost optimization, and to be done professionally. That's been our biggest challenge, because everybody feels that they can just hire somebody in-house. But what they don't realize is that they'll have to hire 5 people in-house: social media, creative, business or business development, a brand strategist, someone who can be good with production or operations. Here, we're probably one firm or setup that takes care of all of it. So our biggest challenge is just to explain to entrepreneurs, it's great to have a great product and a great service, but how well and how much can you sustain? That's been our biggest challenge so far.
And I think just to add on to that, creating an industry comes with its own biggest challenges, that you have to keep explaining what you actually, how you're set apart, what you actually do. Because, business growth hacking is not an industry that has been around. And I think even when we began, this conversation that we are having, you also mentioned, how we're consultants. But we're not. That becomes sort of a task for us to get that message out to people that and very honestly, we take a little offense to being called consultants, because there's a lot more that goes into what we do than most consultants do. And that's sort of the biggest challenge of creating an industry where we're catering to something very on a larger scale, just to add on to that.
Understood. And who goes ahead to explain all of this to people? Who's the first one?
We actually have a very not a standard, but we actually have a pitch, which is very like the first few times we did it, we just went with the flow, and it was touch wood so good that we just stuck to doing the same thing. So, we'll both give individual introductions, and then I think Rahim's the first one to tell them, because it's important what they know what 1-to-101 is. That's very intriguing. Most of our calls and our pitches have been because people have been very excited to know why the name and what is the brand about. So since Rahim is amongst the two of us, he is the creative, I'm the business. So I'm all numbers and getting brands on board and getting a lot more moolah to the table. I'm the rainmaker. He's the complete creative head here. So he's the brain maker. So it was his idea with the name. So I think it's only fair he starts off.
So Rahim is the one with words.
Yeah. He's the one with all the words, all the smart words. He knows what to say when.
But we are talking about especially the luxury lifestyle space. What potential do you see in India for that? Because India is a price sensitive market, right? But there's still a surge that has come up, at least post-COVID, right? Post-COVID times in the luxury lifestyle segment. Both sides, from the customer sides as well, and the owner side as well, the entrepreneur side as well, company side as well. So what is the potential that you guys see down 5 years later, 10 years later? What is the potential you see?
So honestly, I think here, Lata, what's very important to define is what is luxury anymore, because that's the biggest I'd say the biggest contradiction to luxury is luxury, because people quantify luxury more often than not, right? 10 years ago, you would quantify luxury. You'd say, I own an LV bag, or I own an Hermes bag, or I own a Prada, or I own a Gucci. And that's luxury for me because I own that. Ownership at some point for a tangible was luxury. Today, the experience of buying that bag is luxury. So it's more time, it's more experience. So there's been a paradigm shift of what luxury really means to a lot of people, firstly, that we need to understand here. For me, for us, a lot of times we say time is luxury. We feel like, do we have that much time to do what we really want to do? And nobody really quantifies in a tangible manner luxury anymore. Like, oh, she's worn branded clothes, so that's luxury. That's not. I feel, according to me, I can only speak for myself, that's not. But yes, to answer to what you just asked us, there is a huge potential for what the next 5 years is going to show us for luxury, because it's going to be so much more intangible. And that is the best part of it, because anybody will be able to create luxury, and that's so amazing, because today, not just products, but even services will become luxury. Like today, I know, what event management or wedding planning was at some point. Was such a basic thing where people used to say, "Haan, mandap le aao, ye le aao, wo ho gaya, doli wala ho gaya, mehndi wala ho gaya, and we're done." But it has become a huge conglomerate of different things to just even create or plan a 3-day wedding, right? And that's luxury, because people are spending crores and crores and crores over a 3-day wedding. So we see so many more industries propping up, which could be even service driven, which are luxury. But yeah, for us, of course, there's a huge potential of how much we can tap into also to scale businesses in a different way, right? It's not just going to be product. But yeah, I mean, Rahim, if you want to add on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what you mentioned rightly is it's become so much more about the experience, than the just to call it a purchase here. More than the purchase, it's all about the experience. Now you enter maybe one of even one of those high-end retail stores, say like a Zara or an H&M. They use sensory stimulators, right? So you're going to have a certain sense of smell at a particular store. You're gonna have that faint Zara fragrance that and the moment you enter a store, that okay, this is something that you will only smell in a Zara, and that brings about a certain sense of a touch of personalization, and that personalization is putting in the effort to make that customer, make that client feel like you're a part of the family, right? And that experience, that effort, and that time, even the smaller bits, right? Something as small as a sensory, a smell, is what luxury is defined as now. Now, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, buying a Mercedes or a BMW was considered luxury. Today, it's become a need, right? And it's no more. Of course, it falls under a luxury segment of cars, but it's more a need now than because everybody who's going to office every morning, maybe a businessman, maybe an entrepreneur, maybe somebody a CEO, they want that luxury of time to be sitting in that back seat, and probably taking that 40-minute drive to just relax, to just stay calm, and that that time that you get for yourself is that experience of utilizing your time for yourself is sort of more luxury, and that is where India is tapping very strongly into, is giving that user experience, is giving that time to the consumer.
And also, there's so many parallel universes that are going to start getting created where luxury is going to just, whether it's a product or a service, like for instance, NFTs or the meta or the blockchain was never something we'd even imagine could kind of gain so much of popularity and have so much value, in terms of what the ownership of or the onus of it was at some point. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, nobody even knew too much about it. But now luxury is not just going to exist in one universe, it's going to exist in parallel universes, which means so much of potential and technology also coming into what we're going to be, having to deliver for our brands. And everybody wants to be there, right? It's not like a rat race, but it's just something that, okay, if they can do it, I want to do it too. And that urge to do it correctly or to do it better is where probably we'd be able to help, right? So it's taking that one step further, again, taking you not to 100 from a 0, but to a 101. How do we make it a 101 for us, right? And how do we crack that? So yes, I think it's going to be so much more in the next 5 or 10 years, and we're really excited. We can't wait.
Definitely. So the essence behind luxury is if you're able to give a very different, unique, fun experience to the customer, that's what sets you off. That's what gets you off, right?
Yes. And to do it differently. It could be doing the same thing, because 5 people, see, it's one, everybody's going to post on Instagram because that's what Instagram is there for, right? So for instance, I'm a brand on Instagram, there are 10 other brands on Instagram. Fundamentally, the task is posting. But how and what do we post? And how is it different from those 10 brands? That's important. And and that's kind of where we can help. Yeah.
Understood. Awesome. That's great to know. And I'm sure it's because of your efforts that you've been able to also, you also work with international clients as well, right? Across the globe. Tell us about that. How do you go and approach them? How is it different from Indian market? What works for you there as well? Give us some insights about that as well.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
In fact, funny story. We started working with international brands before we started working with Indian
Yes.
houses, right? So we started off basically with one of our brands based in Houston, Texas, in the States of America. And I mean, Touchwood, they've been with us. We've been with them rather, for almost a year now, right? And so the mindset that goes behind an international market, and Touchwood, like the how we've grown even with the Indian brands. It's a very different ball game, right? So when you're talking about a consumer in the Western market, they have a very different taste. They have a very different viewpoint of looking at the same product that an Indian consumer in India would look at it as. So when say I'm looking at a lehenga at say maybe a lehenga worth say 3 lakh rupees here in India, I'm going to be looking at every little detail. I'm going to be looking at every little karigari, embroidery, or whatever work has gone behind it. I'm going to be looking at the color, the Pantone, how it's made, and if it's and then obviously once the visual appeal is done and how it's looking on somebody who's going to be wearing it. But the Western mentality is more so so different right now. It's more about the first approach is, am I going to be comfortable with this, right? Before the money, before the look and feel, the first question is, am I going to be comfortable wearing this for say about 3 hours or 4 hours? And that sets apart majorly a lot of things that go into each brand and working with each brand that we do, because there's a very different approach with every little detail, and that every little detail makes it a whole different experience altogether to pitch even that particular product or that brand, or cracking a deal for that particular brand against another brand, which is sort of doing the same thing, but again the market is so different. How do you change the whole dynamic of what's happening? So yeah, I think that's sort of what sets apart, what really sets apart the different mentalities. But yeah, Riddhi.
Yeah, also it's very interesting because internationally, so we work with a lot of Indian fashion and couture brands, right? Luxury fashion brands, Indian couture brands, lehenga, saris, and all of that. Now, in India, you have like 15 or 20 festivals where you can kind of wear your outfits and your garments internationally. They probably have 2 in a year. After the wedding, there's rarely an occasion where you'd wear a pre-draped sari or a sharara set or a gharara set. Seasonality, not just that, but occasions and festivities are very different there. So, like Rahim said, comfort and practicality is always the first way of approaching a purchase internationally. Okay, am I going to be able to wear this again? Would I want to wear this again? And it's not really as much price sensitivity as it is for comfort. Like, am I going to be comfortable in it? Do I look okay? If I look okay, I'm comfortable, I'm okay. Right? Then they'll spend even like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. But in India, I don't think India has become as such, or is as such it's not very a price sensitive market if you're hitting the right demography. So of course, if you're going with a 3 lakh product to somebody who's looking for a 60,000 rupee product, yes, that's not your demography, they might not buy. But that doesn't mean the purchasing power isn't there. It's there. It's very much there. India has a very great purchasing power today. So I don't think money is the first thing people would see in India. What they would is, there are going to be 500 people at my wedding. There's a lot more intimacy internationally with clients, right? When they even have events. So there are going to be 500 people at a wedding here. Now what? So I think there's a lot more competition in India. There's a lot more, there's a decision hazard. Like, it takes a longer time to take that decision in the country, whether it's anything, today, even if it's a dessert. Do I like the taste of it? Is it healthy for me? Is it vegan? Is it sustainable, organic? There are a lot more questions and layers before a purchase happens here. It's not very quick. So that's the first thing that we've realized and we've kind of understood. But apart from that, I think for us, it's crazy because we work with international brands, which are in US and Canada, and we work with Indian brands. So we're on 3 time zones. So we're zombies. We don't sleep. We don't eat on time. We don't drink on time. We have no rest. We have no life. But it's okay. We love it. We couldn't ask for better. So,
and just I don't know. It's really irrelevant. I don't know, but we've been so lucky with our teams, who have been on the same page as us since day one, since the time all of them have joined. And that kind of system helps you really push forth your boundaries and your limits and get that extra mile going. So I think touchwood, I just it's a blessing.
Fans have been very understanding and they trust. For us it's very important, Lata. We are very boutique. We take on fewer brands. We're okay with that. But we need brands and we want to work with brands who can give us that 100% trust. And that's very important because that's when we've delivered the best. So internationally also, in fact, we are the ones who follow up with them way more, and they'll agree if they're watching this podcast, way more than they follow up with us. At some point, I'm like, okay, what is going on? I need this. Give it to me soon. So yeah, that's what it's been.
So that comes from the work ethics also that you guys work with. So definitely heads down on that. But where do you guys see this going? Where do you guys see 1-2-101 going down 5-10 years? Are you planning to have onboard more brands internationally, touch down different locations outside country as well? What does your goal look like?
So, okay, I'm just going to say it in very simple words. And this is something that Rahim and I discussed. We want to touch 101 brands in the next 4 to 5 years. That's our target. It could be scaling these brands. It could be working with them for different aspects of their business. But a 101 is the number that we want to touch. And more than anything else, honestly, our 4 or 5 year plan, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, Rahim, but our 4 or 5 year plan is more to see empowerment. And that's why we started 1-2-101. We want to see growth. We constantly, even if we're working 15 hours a day, if I don't see a trajectory of growth with the brands that we're working with, it annoys both of us. Then why isn't the ROI high this month? Why haven't we been able to take them from point 1 to point 2? Or why has it taken so much longer? So in 4 or 5 years, we want to make that so good and so smooth in the system where more people see others grow and they feel, we thrive on it. And I know it's weird, but very rarely do people talk of sisterhood and brotherhood and growth and all of that, but we know how many people really go out there and help people grow, and that's fundamentally what we want to achieve. We want to achieve even that spirit with our brands, that if I can help you grow, you can do this for 10 other people in your company or 10 other brands that and that's going to be our biggest achievement, to see growth and empowerment.
People actually talk about sisterhood and brotherhood there. Does it happen?
If we're talking of the mafia, then yeah.
Understood.
No, but in terms of in the zone of competition in the industry, there is so and I don't know, this is very candid of me for saying this. But there are people in the industry doing similar work, and meeting in the same circles. In fact, being a part of the same social circles as well. But behind their back, they're in front of each other. They're talking about how great their product is. I mean, I'm talking about the one person complimenting the other second person to their face. But behind it's so much competition, and it's just that that. We don't want that to happen. We want everybody to grow with the other, doing their bit, doing, what they're good at, while, letting other people do what they're doing,
it's really funny because everybody, and we've heard this in a lot of interviews also, they say the market is cluttered, right? This word is used very, very extensively. We don't believe there's clutter. There is room for everything. There is room for anything and everything, as long as there's innovation and as long as there's disruption. If you do it differently, or you're offering something which is very similar yet offered differently, there's room for everybody to grow. That doesn't necessarily, of course, competition is good, it's healthy, because it helps you do better and it helps you stay rooted and grounded and focused. But when that gets toxic, it's so necessary because there's room for everyone to do everything nicely. So why?
Right.
Yeah.
I think there have been so many questions about company. I'm generally told that two co-founders who work together, it's mostly their chemistry that keeps them together. The complementary skills majorly. So let's talk a bit about both of y'all as well. What I'll do is I'll ask a question to each of you and you can answer it for what do they think about the other person. This will be very quick, 2-3 basic questions, and
Sure.
you should definitely get it right.
Oh my God, quiz and all. Wow,
I
okay.
think I'm losing this one.
No, these are basic questions. I'm sure you
No,
get it
this is
right.
very good. This is a good test for me to also gauge how much he understands and knows me. So yeah, this is great.
On that note, I'll actually start with Rahim itself. So Rahim,
Oh
one
my
word for
God.
Riddhi. One word
Sorry?
for Riddhi. One word for Riddhi.
Passionate.
Okay. Riddhi, one thing that you really like about Riddhi.
Honesty. Honest. Very, very honest. He's probably the cleanest, most honest person I've met.
Okay, interesting. Rahim, what do you what I don't know how to put it, but yeah, what do you not like? What do you not like about Riddhi the most? Is there something?
Oh my God.
I'm sure there's a list. There's a list, I'm sure of it.
No, there isn't. Oh my God. Okay. Impulse. Sometimes it backfires. The impulse.
Okay.
But most times it has turned out to be positive, but a lot of times it has gone south with the impulse. So I think that one bit, yeah.
Rahim, good way to put it. The man with words definitely proves it.
I had creative for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Riddhi, what do you think? What kind of work environment? List 3 names, list 3 words, 3 things that Rahim definitely wants to have in his work environment, within the team, in his team culture.
Ease. A lot of ease and comfort. So he wants his people to be very comfortable and easy when they're at work, not stressed. So ease is one. Passion, him too. He's very passionate about what he does. And, he says if we're passionate and we're honest with our work, it'll always turn out the right way. So ease, passion, respect. For whoever's walking into our office, and even if it is our help, or even if it is a cleaner or the office boy, he said everybody has to speak to everybody with respect. We never tell our teams to address us as sir and ma'am. We don't. We want the culture to be extremely easygoing, and that's how it should be. But a lot of respect. Even having said that, ease, passion, and respect. I think these are 3 things. If I'm right, that's what he wants.
Okay, interesting. And Rahim, what do you think is for Riddhi to be in her work culture?
I said. No. Again, I think passion, which I resonate very strongly with her. She like she said. I also feel that if there's passion, there's result. That is one passion. Again, obviously. The second one being aggression. She wants people to hustle. And she's a hustler. She's very honestly, I have met a lot of people in my life. I've come across so many people in my life. I've been in so many businesses. I've been in so many different hemispheres, but I have not met a hustler like her in my life. And that is something that sets her really apart from everybody else. And that makes also the third that brings in the third aspect, that is being goal oriented and driven. So she wants people to be driven and be goal oriented. If you hustle, you will find a way. If not, you don't find a way, you will make a way. and that's what hustlers do. And I think that's the three, if I've got it right.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Awesome.
Perfect.
Last two questions very quickly. How do you guys fight? Like if you have if you don't get any consensus on a topic, how do you guys resolve it?
How do we resolve it?
Yeah.
I feel it's always me, like resolving it. It's always me, even if he's at fault. I just have to go and sort things out and be like, listen, chill, it's fine, let's figure it out. I feel more often than not it is me. But you know what? No, on a more serious note, very rarely have we not had consensus at work. And that's a very rare thing for most people who work together. Like, we'll always have issues which are probably not related to work. It could be because of an outside reason, which is not directly connected to us. But with me and him, we have a rule, if Rahim says okay to one thing and Riddhi says no to the same thing, Rahim will not go ahead with it. And if Riddhi says no to one thing and Rahim says okay, it's the other way around, he will not go ahead with it. So we have this, the understanding that we've had from day one. And we feel, and as much as I probably want to maybe work with a particular brand or a client, or he says no, I don't think this will align with us, I will drop it. We will not do it. So that is also a lot of it. But it's also a lot of understanding that we've developed. And we've also had that from the first, right, Rahim?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think communication has sort of been a very it's always been a two-ended, double-ended conversation. It's been a double-sided conversation because we've always kept it open. Yes, of course, there have been disagreements. There have been times where, and it's very natural. Because if there aren't disagreements, you're going to get bored. You're going to get very bored. You're going to be working with each other and there's no fun. Where you're just going to keep agreeing with everything that's going on. But also having, said that, we also have, defined a lot of things that, we both take autonomy on. Riddhi has her own way of doing things. She has her own way of getting things done. While on the other side, I have my own, pace, and I have my own ways of getting things done. I am, I'm not as aggressive as, Riddhi in actually a lot of things, not even some things, a lot of things. But I have, my own style of working. I have my own, and I think we've come to, terms with each other's style of working, that I know that Riddhi is going to get things done probably 3 days before deadline, while I am going to be getting it done 3 hours before deadline.
But you know what, sometimes it's also worked for us, because people who like our brands or our partners who have some issues, they'll always prefer talking to Rahim over me, because he's always been the calmer, the more relaxed. I get, I'm very hyper, I panic. So that's a good balance I feel we strike, and that's all right. He has his own way of doing things, I have mine. Definitely, don't you realize one of the biggest reasons we both are in separate rooms today is because we've had a problem, a disagreement. No, I'm just kidding.
It's just that we didn't want the overlap, and I think it's just fair,
I think it's okay. Everybody has problems. It's just how you, like you said, communicate and move past. So that's
communication, and as long as you guys fight, it all will.
And you know what's also very important? No ego. We both don't really want to take credit for anything that we've done, because we always tell people we've done it. Like 1-101 has done it. It's not even been me. It's the whole team's effort. It's everybody who's put in any amount of work into a particular project or closing a project. It's been everybody. So even if it's something that maybe Rahim has been leading from the very beginning, but his team has been working on it, or maybe I've helped him, he'll never say I've done it or it's my idea. It's never been that. And that really has helped us. Because it's me, myself and I, then you're going to be up there on that ladder all alone watching people down there. So never me.
Keeps you guys grounded as well, like you mentioned earlier.
It does, and and in fact, like I mentioned earlier, very little things that really make a lot of difference, in the way we do things around here. like for instance, there's this one little thing that we actually do every time we send out a pitch deck or a scope of work. Like, so we send out an email after we've had our initiation call with a new potential client, potential partner, and we basically fist bump each other just before we send out an email. And that's sort of those little things that keep us moving, because and we sit right beside each other every time we're walking, because it's very important that those little things stay intact, because that's where you started. And for us, that keeps us very grounded to realize where we started and how we started, where 1-to-101 came into existence. And again, might sound off track, but we started off 1-to-101 at a cafe, working out of a cafe, and then we moved our little office into Riddhi's home, with just 2 workstations that we made in one of her rooms, and now we have touchwood, we moved into just a month ago, we moved into an 1,800 square feet space. Complete full office for our teams as well. So that trajectory, those little things that we still do, like the fist bumps, or those victorious joys when we've cracked a deal for one of our partners, and those little tiny celebrations that go on behind everything, every milestone that we've done keeps us grounded and keeps us going. And I think that is something that we want to keep, we tell ourselves that should never change, because that is the core foundation of 1-to-101.
I hope that never changes. Of course, you guys are there to ensure that. Last question, who has more risk appetite? Who's the one to take more risk?
110%, 1,000%, 40,000%, it's him. I am just so scared. I mean, of course, I feel higher the risk, higher the return. I know that. But definitely, Rahim is, and I don't know if it's risk taking or if it's just fearlessness. He's just so secure. He's just so not scared. What if we don't have, 3 new brands in the next 4 months? He's okay. He's like, when we have to have it, we'll have it. People have to recognize our work and it'll happen. I, on the other hand, I'm just like, oh my God, now what? How do we secure this? How do we safeguard this? I'm always thinking of cushioning. He's always just removing the cushions. He's like, it's okay, fall. What's going to happen? You'll fall, you'll stand up, you'll walk again. So it's definitely him, for sure.
Yeah, I think it just comes from a space of, falling too often and getting back up, probably twice more than you've fallen. And, that creates an attitude in you where you're not, you don't fear any kind of losses, any kind of falls. And you're just so immune, at a point where, things will happen and they have to. And if they've not happened, they're not for you.
But that doesn't mean we're not aggressive. So there's a difference. Like, we're still very aggressive and very passionate. But we feel sometimes, you just got to let time take its own course. And that's kind of what I've also learned from him.
I think that's more me than her.
I'm saying that. I've learned that from him, because I feel that destiny is everything. Like, you cannot change what is already written for you. And what's written for you will come to you. So very spiritual, I know, but it makes sense. You can't find it. I'm so sorry. Also, just to add on to this, to give you an example, we have had a situation where we signed on a client, like on paper, and we've not gone ahead the 3rd day. It just didn't happen for whatever reasons. It didn't work out. So, I mean, how much when it's not meant for you, there is just no point. However aggressively I follow up, I chase, I make it happen, it just won't. So, you sometimes just have to leave it to him. He's there. He's taking care.
Any parting advice, any parting words you guys want to say out there for anybody who listen?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm gonna, maybe Rahim can add on and follow through. But for me, I have like a very short message. I just want to tell all entrepreneurs who've ever thought of starting their own thing, just don't give up. Because every day or every week or every month or every year, you might get that feeling that you can't do this anymore and this might not work. But I promise you, I promise you, if God has made sure that you start something, or if you believed in yourself and made sure you started something, you will follow through. So just be very, very, very calm and patient, and just hold on, because a lot of people just give up. And even when they have great things to do and great things to offer, and they're great entrepreneurs, they just don't believe they can do it because of whatever reason, right? So when you're calm, you can think the best. So just stay very calm and don't be impulsive like me. Yeah. But yeah, Rahim.
I actually follow stand-up comedy a lot. I have I really love having that off time, and it's very unrelated to bring it here, but there's this one speech that Vedas had actually given when he had gotten his PhD, I believe, if I'm not wrong. But there's this one thing he said, and he said, "Be stupid."
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, and that that stuck with me, and it resonated with me because I have done so many stupid things in life. From starting a business to stopping, to shutting it down, then again starting another one and shutting it down, and then maybe doing something else, and again putting it on the back burner. What I have realized is that when you're stupid enough to take that one extra next step, you will not fail. And that one step that you've not taken today, you might regret tomorrow. And that regret will never let you take that next step. So to be, not live with regret in your heart for the rest of your life, take that one step. Take that step that will take you to greatness. And trust me, greatness comes from within, not from anybody else's. You don't need laurels from the world. You don't need laurels from, people around you. You don't. All you need is validation from within. And once you've gotten that, once you've taken that one step, there is no greater validation you require than that one step that you've taken. So I think that's what I'd like to conclude this with.